Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. Today guys, we're going to be jumping down into the charts for Vechain, see what's been going on most recently and what I would expect to happen next. As I get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. And if you haven't yet joined us in Discord, links in the description down below. It's a fantastic community talking crypto 24/7. It's completely free and I don't think you'll be disappointed by what you find down there. So why not go ahead and check it out today? Okay, guys, let's get into this, right? So we are going to start things off by taking a look at Vechain on the hourly chart, right? We were talking about a few different things over the last few days. We're specifically talking about moving down to 2.858. We actually came down ever so slightly lower. Then we were talking about trying to rally up and we're heading towards 4 cent. We obviously had got rejected here yesterday about 3.368 and we have pulled back quite significantly here, at least on this hourly chart. So let's actually go ahead and make this a little bit bigger and jump right into this, right? So let me just get rid of this bar and we'll get rid of that stochastic for a second and just pull this back down. So this is essentially what we're talking about, right? We're trying to move up to about 4 cent before pulling down towards our low range of about 1.8 to 1.77. Now we are of course struggling to kind of get some decent traction here, and it is possible that we completely break down. However, it is also possible that this is some kind of really long B wave and we're still to have that surge upwards. Okay, so this might be dragged out a little bit longer, but timing is always incredibly difficult to kind of get right in this space. There's a couple of different ways that we can look at it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove that one for starters. Okay, so we obviously do have the larger macro views, but we also have some sub wave counts that we can also take a look at, such as this ABC here, and of course we have the ABC here. Okay, now when we come up, we also have another ABC function right inside there. So what we could be looking at is another set just inside here, just taking us maybe back down towards our 2.8 cent range. Now it is possible, but we are already oversold on this hourly chart. So the alternative way of looking at this might be that actually we're in some kind of ABC function right here where we're up an A, coming down for B, and we're going to move up into a C wave. Okay, and we're looking to try to come out, but I'm thinking that the chances of 4 cent now are dropping. They're quite low, and there's no guarantee that we are going to see that significant surge just yet. So we should be cautious. We obviously have the target there, but there's no guarantee it might actually come on in, and there's a high probability of a drop down, at least according to the different time frames. So when I do is I come back into here and I take a look at it from a 4-hourly perspective. Let me actually just tidy some of these off here. We don't need to see all the sub wave counts, right? We'll take a look at it from a 4-hourly perspective. We could say that this is our B wave and we are looking to move up. This is just another kind of move down and then we surge up again. We take a look at this 4-hourly stochastic. It's got to lower down a little bit more, right? So we could be looking at, you know, just trading sideways whilst we wipe this out for a little bit, and there might be a little bit of sideways trading going on here, but it might also mean that we end up in some kind of triangular wedge that just kind of gets stuck into here for maybe a next kind of day or so, and then we get that break to the upside, hitting the 4 cent range and then collapsing down after. One of the things I'm pretty confident on is that we are likely, if I just get that and put that back there, we are likely to come down into this low range, because that is actually a part of the macro picture taking us down into these lows, right? So even when we jump up into our 8-hourly chart, you can see that we're overbought. We're looking for this corrective move. We're looking for this pullback down, and the most probable area is 1.875, but it could also come down ever so slightly lower than that. Now, if we take a look at the daily, it's actually gone up a fair bit here, but we can obviously pull this back down. It's not overly problematic. The weekly chart is now in the oversold area, but I would expect us to stay down here for a little bit longer. So I'm not expecting any instantaneous bounces. And again, the monthly is also oversold. So for the most part, we're not expecting any big major movements up. Instead, if anything, we're just expecting movements to the downside. This is pretty much aligned to where Bitcoin is as well, as Bitcoin is kind of ready to try to track down to about $22,900. And essentially that should be the bottom area. Now, depending on where you kind of look, the different kind of exchanges have different price points. So, you know, when I use Binance, it tends to be the worst case view, right? We tend to have prices that hit to the penny and all of that kind of stuff on Bitcoin, and therefore you don't necessarily get the more optimistic view that you might get from something like Bitstamp. Now, when you have Vechain here and we're looking to kind of move up towards 4 cent, I do see 4 cent as being the maximum level to kind of reach here within this particular section of a B wave, and then I would expect us to pull back down, right? And you know, it's possible that we don't actually reach that 4 cent, as I said, right? We aren't necessarily you know, primed and ready to go for a surge upwards. I do think though we are it is on the horizon. It is something that we could probably see, right? I've got a high probability of 4 cent, but I'm not going to be out here saying I'm 100% certain that it's going to 4 cent or anything like that. I think there's a higher probability of moving down than moving up, but we want to be kind of keeping a good eye out on what is likely to occur here next on Vechain. So I think for now, the main kind of consensus that I have here is that we are probably going to be bouncing around sideways until we finally get that last little surge upwards, and then we pull back down. I think that's the kind of the most I guess that's the most probable scenario that I can see at the moment for Vechain, right? So we are going to go up and then we are going to go down. The only question is whether or not we're going to reach 4 cent before we pull back down to 1.875. And that's kind of the thing that's going to hold us all back a little bit. Now, when I throw the volumes on here and we actually just take a look at these, you can see that there isn't exactly a lot of volume going on. Nothing in the same way that we saw the sell-off, right? So the sentiment is very much that people want to sell, they don't want to buy, okay? But that's obviously not necessarily the right perspective to have, in my opinion. Now, obviously, it's worth noting that I am not a financial advisor. I cannot offer you financial advice, right? I can just tell you my thoughts and opinions on the charts as I see it. And one of the things I think is really important that we understand is the level of pullback and the level of retracement that Vechain has had. Okay, so if we actually just take the current price right now, it's an 88% or 89%, sorry, from the previous all-time high. So it's a very, very significant reduction in price, to the point where dollar cost averaging for the average retail investor into something like Vechain here actually makes perfect sense. It isn't something that you're going to regret, 6 months to a year in the future, in my opinion, because these levels, they aren't actually seen all too often. And the last time that Vechain was really in this low area was way back in January of 2021, okay, and that was on a massive run up. So to pull back down here is actually a really good opportunity, in my opinion. But that's all it is, right? Don't just invest anything on what I say or do in these videos, but essentially do your own research and come to your own conclusions, right? Most of the time when you see altcoins, they in a bear market scenario, they don't drop down more than 95%, right? And that is always a possibility that you do see that coming down to about 1.3, 1.4 cent. It is a possible scenario under a bearish structure. However, I think it's more probable that 1.875 is likely to be the end of this. And if we were to come down to 1.875, it would put us at about 93% retracement. So we should be thinking, how much more do you want to kind of eke out? What kind of discount level are you really looking for here? Because essentially, if you go down 90% of the value from the all-time high, that is actually the right place to be dollar cost averaging. That's the right place to be kind of really jumping into this market and taking advantage of the situation. Because, in the future, a few years down the line, you're not going to look back and think, man, I'm gutted I didn't buy it. I bought it at 1.9 rather than 1.8, right? And essentially, you actually be, talking about being in new all-time highs and looking back saying, man, I was so lucky to have bought at 1.9 cent or 2 cent or 3 cent, right? That's those different scenarios. So Chris and myself, we did the same strategy. We were accumulating way back down in the lows, right? During that pandemic crash of 2020, when there was so much fear in the market, everything was going to go to zero, nothing was going to survive. Chris and myself were there and we were just accumulating massively, right? Vechain was one of them, Harmony One was another, Matic was another, all less than a cent. And, essentially you're able to kind of really take advantage of the situations under those scenarios, right? So I just want to leave that there. Obviously, I'm not a financial advisor. I will not be giving you financial advice, but it tends to be what I'd look at, right? I look at where things are undervalued. Chris is the same. And to me right now, many altcoins in this space are undervalued. And it's really undervalued altcoins that we like on the channel. So guys, I'm going to leave the video there. If you have found this useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With all that said, done and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.